kind of crappy. But let's do another book while we're looking at books here. Here's the second book that I received not too long ago from my pal Bacon. Shovel Knight Artbook. So yeah, let's take a look at this one. Hey everyone, Epo Dempsey Roll here, aka Rayo. We're looking at another art book right now. This is Shovel Knight Official Design Works. I believe it's published by Udon, and the game developers, they're called Yacht Club Games, and I'm a big fan of Shovel Knight, so I was very happy to receive this art book. And yeah, let's take a quick look at it. I don't want to go through every single page, but we'll just kind of peruse through it as much as we can. There's the titular Shovel Knight. It's very interesting seeing artwork for this game because it is a pixel art game, and so the way we see the game is through the lens of a very blocky, pixelated art, and yet they took the time to do a lot of artwork, in a more rendered illustrative style to better communicate what this game was all about. And I like stuff like this, these like pencil sketches, in order to, again, sort of get a better idea of what the game was going to be about. And you can actually see how Shovel Knight here doesn't look as sort of detailed as, or proportion, like he doesn't have like the proper proportions that he does in the game. But that's actually very useful for like when they're lending out the character of Shovel Knight to other games, because he's appeared as a guest star in a bunch of other indie games, but having like this detailed artwork is very useful in order to get a better idea of how he should look when he's like high res and stuff. Let's read this developer commentary here. The Enchantress went through many revisions as we tried to capture the right mix of danger, aloofness, and sex appeal. Originally, she had a low-cut neckline and exposed back, but it didn't feel quite right. I don't know. I'd be okay with that. King Knight. So King Knight is a playable character in one of the DLC expansions, as well as Plague Knight here. And when they became playable characters, I feel like they kind of changed their proportions to better suit being a playable character. Tinker Knight, all the Knight bosses. And this section is actually really interesting because they get into the Kickstarter reward characters. So if you donated enough money, you could have one of your own characters become a part of the game. And this one here was kickstarted by Wooly and Matt from Two Best Friends. Or, well, they've kind of gone on their separate ways, but for a good long while, the best friends, Zaibatsu, they called themselves, they would look into a bunch of different Kickstarter games, and if it was really cool, and if they had some kind of reward tier where you could create your own character for the game, they would use the Baz. And an interesting little side note about the Baz is that I believe he's a Street Fighter 2 character. He's like an abandoned character that was intended to appear in Street Fighter 2 or one of the earlier Street Fighter games, but he was never used. And so it's kind of interesting how the best friends basically took this character from Capcom, and now he's appeared in a bunch of different things. And yeah, what's the legality behind that? I have no idea, just because he was never used. He's an abandoned concept by Capcom, so, and then he started showing up in other games. It's just very unusual. So yeah, let's just keep looking at it really quick. And again, I don't want to look at every single page. Just a quick little tour. That's really neat that they made concept art for at least little sketches for all the characters that you meet in the towns too. That's pretty cool. Baz looks metal. Yeah. And now there's the enemies. There's actually a decent amount of enemy variety in Shovel Knight. This here, the Propeller Rat, it's a very humorous looking enemy character. They almost seem like they don't want to be involved. And this enemy here, the Griffith, reminds me a lot of enemies that you see in Mega Man. Like these big enemies that kind of shoot fireballs and you kind of have to properly jump over them. And Shovel Knight, the game itself, very much inspired by Mega Man for sure. Again, let's just go through a few more pages. More sketches. Sketches of the Shovel Knight. They really had to nail that look. Like I feel like they kept on drawing and kept on working at it to really get to a point where they were like 100% sure that this was going to be the character. Just so much work went into it. And I think it shows because it really has stood the test of time. It's a character that's been used in merchandise. He turned into an amiibo. He showed up as a guest character in a bunch of things. So yeah, I think that kind of worked out. And then here's Black Knight. It's kind of like Mega Man and Proto Man. You've got Shovel Knight and Black Knight. I think that's kind of like the dynamic, the relationship between those guys. More Enchantress, more villagers. Didn't they get the original Mega Man music composer for a few tracks? They did indeed. That was really cool. This is a very funny drawing. Some drawings on post-it notes. Dev commentary. A lot of times we would use sketches on index cards to get across simple gameplay concepts and visuals. Cool. Relics and items. That's something that I'd like to kind of get into more, is drawing little relics and items, to use the term that they use. I think that's just really interesting like exercise, I guess, and something that could sort of communicate a world better, you know, more than simply drawing the environment and the characters. It's the items and stuff that people use. This looks to be like a mimic. I always love mimics. Oroku really expands your world building toolkit, yeah. Yeah, see, they've really thought about all the different characters. Oh, and actually, yeah, so in an update for this game, they made it so that you could like change the gender of like every character and all the enemies, I think, including your own character. So yeah, here's like a bunch of gender swapped versions of the character. If they're not enemies, definitely at least the main character. The main characters can be gender swapped. Even the final boss, I think. That's very neat. And yeah, you can see here Enchanter body swap. So here's like the dude version. I'm not sure if that actually made it into the update, but this is also neat. Here's all the sprites. I used to download like sprite artwork, and just to look at it is just really fun to look at. You know, like the Street Fighter Third Strike sprites and stuff. Or Mother. Or Earthbound. So that's really neat. Night Trap. Cool. Shovel Knight Artbook. Yep. Just taking a quick look at this. Oh, here's the Baz. So yeah, that's something you guys can look into, is that the Baz has showed up in a bunch of different things. In as a guest character, a bunch of different Kickstarter games, indie games, and he originally was an abandoned concept from a Capcom game, Street Fighter, I think. Bunch of miscellaneous stuff. And no, I didn't finish painting. I'm still gonna get back to it. I'm just on a little break. Oh, the Baz's in dive kick. There you go. Mona. I'm not seeing the concept art. Oh, there it is. I was gonna say I didn't see Kratos, but you can indeed fight Kratos in Shovel Knight if you're playing it on a PlayStation platform. And I mentioned this previously, but there's something about Kratos' appearance in this game where it came out at a time after God of War Ascension and before the announcement of God of War 2018. And something about his appearance here in Shovel Knight kind of hints that he would be going to a different mythology and a different environment. Because like when you fight him, it's kind of like in this snowy region that doesn't really seem like Greece. And he talks about like traveling. He's like traveling to a new something or other. But yeah, that's very cool. And of course on Xbox there was the Battletoads. Some fan art. This seems very Souls-like. Yeah. I don't know if there's any guest characters on the Switch. The Switch has had the distinction of being the first platform where Shovel Knight appeared on. So like everyone who played Shovel Knight on the Switch, they were like the early adopters that got to enjoy the game before everyone else. And playing it on PlayStation, we were all just slowpokes joining in on the fun. But yeah, so that's the Shovel Knight art book. Very nice and very neat book that I would like to dive into more and just really go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.